everybody. Welcome to the Multifamily Mixtape. I am your host, Mark Sharp. And joining me today, we have Upper State Apartment Association's Director of Membership Services, Miss Andrea Graham. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
And we have Director of Marketing and Communications, Courtney Kittle.
Happy to be here.
Thank you all for joining me. I wanted to have you all on as a Apartmentalize recap mid-sized affiliate of the year, Upper State Apartment Association from the upstate of South Carolina. How does that feel? Like, Andrea, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I've been with the association a little over 5 years, and just seeing it drastically change over those last 5 years. I mean, I know I've heard stories about where it was prior, and I can see where we're at now, and all that work, all the effort, the members, the staff, the board has put in over those years, and to be recognized for it, I think that just really shows that what we're doing is working and people are acknowledging it, which always feels good to be acknowledged for all your hard work. But there's so many great affiliates out there. We follow so many of them on social media, and we're always pushing to be better because of them. And then when we get recognized, it's just like a pat on the back a little bit. It feels really good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Courtney, your turn. Tell me what does it mean? You were there. I mean, Andrea is very pregnant. She could not attend this year's Apartmentalize. I got to step in her place. I'm very thankful that she wasn't there because I got to go up on stage. Sorry, love you, but
okay.
but Courtney, you were there. What does it mean to you? How do you feel?
So when I started at the association 2.5 years ago, which we'll probably get into this more, I'm actually not of the industry, as they say. And one of the first things I did was find other affiliates to follow and just kind of look and see what they did. And there was one little shining star, and that was Detroit Metropolitan. And they won the Excellence Award that year. And I remember thinking, I'm going to win for USAA. Like, they were goals to me. I've told them that as soon as I met them. And in fact, you probably saw me all during Apartmentalize. My little sidekick, Rayshawn, he's from Detroit. Like, that's my homie. I saw his tag, and I was like, I love you guys. I love what you do. I follow. And I felt they were similar, but a little bit ahead, right? Because we are in these different size categories. And right now it's wonderful. We're at 70,000 units. But like since Andrea started, it was, do you even remember, Andrea? I know you were here when it hit
mid 30s, 30,000 units. Yeah, I think when I started, and now that we're like, we just hit 70. Crazy. Yeah.
There's so much growth. And so looking at one, I felt like I was looking at an association that was just a little bit ahead, of us. And I thought we can get there too. And of course, I'm always proud of the work that we do because it's members first. And I think that's also why this year was a little bit of our time to shine, because a lot of our initiatives were member started, member run, and we're just over here helping. I feel like I was the doula that helped give birth to the baby, like I'm not the doctor. I wasn't the one pregnant, but like without me, would it have gone as smoothly? Like, that's how I feel about it.
Right.
So it was just really like I made them send us I asked for the package. They played a little video package for the people who don't know us, summarizing what we've done for the year. And I couldn't even walk on stage at first because I wanted to watch it, because when you know this, it's like you turn a unit by, you do something by, like it's just behind you. And so it was really nice to reflect on the good year that we've had. And then to see how excited our members are. I mean, our phones were just blowing up that week. And then also getting that recognition from other people who do your same job. We were up against Lubbock, Texas, and Arkansas State. Trust me, I investigated. They did great things. And when I came off stage, the AE of Arkansas was the first person to grab me and congratulate me and give me a big hug. Awesome. And so it's like they know the work that we did. And so it really does mean a lot to be recognized by people that know all the effort and all the passion that goes into it.
Yeah. Awesome. So Andrea, 5 years worth of work. You mentioned growth. You
Yeah.
just said mid 30,000. Now we're getting to over 70,000.
Yeah. We just hit
Uh,
70,000 like last
yeah,
week. Hmm.
yeah. So in your tenure, in your 5 years at Upper State Apartment Association, I mean, what obviously the growth in the area, the accolades, the upstate and Greenville and that sort of thing that we get that attributes to the growth of our area. But over 5 years, from the 30,000 units that we had when you started versus the 70,000 now, what the association was doing 5 years ago versus what the
Hmm.
association is doing now. What I mean is there any one thing, any two, three, four things that you can point to that we are doing correctly? And don't be afraid to mention the things that we did incorrectly that we changed. So what, like, just spill it. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think catapulted us up to where we are?
So I think the big shift, and I mean, we could go on and on about the things that have changed over the last 5 years. But I think the big thing was having a strong strategic plan. I'm not just saying that to say it, and then following through with that. And that our main focus with our strategic plan has always been members first and being a member organization. And once you become focused on that and being a member organization and making sure that you're listening to their wants and their needs, they're going to become more engaged because they are our stakeholders. They are the reason why we are running day to day. And so when you're listening to what they want and need and then facilitating those needs, and whether it's education and, hey, we don't just want certifications, we want continuing ed and this, and this, bringing those instructors in. They're seeing that we're listening to their feedback. Hey, we didn't love this event, or hey, this event went bad in this way, and then making that shift. Maybe we don't want to make that shift as a staff or as board of directors, but again, we are a members focused organization. Once you make those shifts, people see that we're following what they're wanting, they're going to get more engaged. And now, 5 years later, everything, pretty much all of our accomplishments, I mean, have member touches to them, or they're fully member and like ran. So
Yeah.
whether it's all the stuff that government affairs is doing on Capitol Hill and the bills they're getting signed, or um, the money raised for Safe Harbor and the recognition we're getting there, or working at Front Porch Housing and our workforce development, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit, like that's completely member ran and getting new people into the industry, but then also job placing them. All of that is because of members. And so we listened to what they needed, we shifted, we added, and then we got them engaged. And now it's very much a different organization for the better.
Right. So it's a, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there when you said, I mean, we are an association of our stakeholders. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they're our members. So this is just as much an award for them
Mm-hmm.
as it is for Upper State. I mean, they are Upper State. They are, who we represent. So that's great that you recognize that and mention that. Courtney, so I mean, being a part of USAA for the last couple of years, and I think you mentioned some of this when we asked you what it meant to you to be at Apartmentalize and to be there to accept the award. But just to kind of ask you the same question I did Andrea, just in the few years that you've been a part of Upper State, is there any one thing, two things, three things that you think we did differently between 2021, 22 to now? Like what do you think?
I think that there's been a big shift. My first week here was a committee week. So that whole week I got all these calls and I took all these notes, and then I would be like, well, we got to do these. And they'd be like, no, you don't do that. The members do that. I'm like, what are they like? And I actually have gotten to see, I think it's a beautiful wheel that we've churned here, the success of our mentorship. I was here for the launch of our first leadership lyceum. We've now done 3, and I've gotten to see that churn of when we mentor, when they do Lyceum, then they become committee co-chairs, then they serve on the board. And I've actually gotten to watch that process, like, and see members that when I first started, maybe they came to things and they were really quiet, or maybe they got on committee calls and they never spoke, and now they're committee chairs.
Yeah.
That's exciting to me. I'm like, I'm a cheerleader, you know, like I'm very, you go Glen Coco, and like, you can do it. And to have members come in and go, I do like this thing. I just don't know if I could do it. Yes, you can. Do you want to? Come on, let's go. Like, and that's like the nice thing about it is when I started, I think y'all were already like in that trajectory of it being really member led. I remember the first board meeting I sat in, y'all do too, where someone yelled at raised his voice at our AE about like, we're supposed to be preparing the next generation and you're not letting us. And like, really, for me, it was easy to go, well, I don't have to put my hands in this. Y'all want to do that? Great. Like, show me how. And I think that's the worst thing we can hear is this is how we've always done it. The industry changes. We have to change with the industry. The faces in charge change. The people that I know to be regionals, you knew as PMs, and the people that I'm watching get promoted to PMs now were leasing when I started. And like, we got to change, we got to grow, we have to evolve together. And I think that this association has done a really great job of following the strategic plan. We made our strategic plan last year. We set up for the next 5 years, and we didn't just do that with us and our board. We invited a lot of active members to be a part of it, because why wouldn't we? And then shout out to Linda Snell with NAA, who wouldn't let us have anything to do with it and had to make it member run. Sometimes you need those reminders. The members are the stakeholders. This is your association. We're here to make your dreams come true, however that looks. And I think the things we've put in place, our mentorship, our Lyceum, the way we have every committee has a board liaison and a committee chair, and not every association does that. At Apartmentalize, one of the class times I get as an affiliate was time with other affiliates, and we talked about our committees and our board involvement, et cetera. And they are not all the same. And I think what we do works for us. I understand if we were a different size, it might be different, but I think we're like just small enough, just big enough, just right.
So just a few minutes ago, you mentioned, Andrea, how we surpassed the 70,000 units for Upper State. And I just reached into my bag of notes over here, so you might have heard me rustling around. But I took some information that I was researching earlier, and pulled out a piece. And if I think it was the Post and Courier, which is here in Greenville, and it talks about another 4,200 units are in the pipeline right now just for the upstate of South Carolina. And not pipeline as in pipe dreams, but approved. 4,200 units approved for the upstate of South Carolina. And while, yes, that's great for us, that will probably get us to that 75,000 mark, or close to that 75,000 mark. But one of the challenges, and you kind of hit on it a second ago, I think you knew we were going to get there when we talked about workforce development. But with the addition of 4,200 units to the upstate of South Carolina, how important is a workforce development program? And at what different types of levels should that program be offered? I know Upper State offered a maintenance cohort, and then they did a leasing cohort, and then they did a groundskeeper cohort. And the two of you both, and I'd like for both of you to try to answer this. But in your opinion, I mean, what is needed to staff 4,200 new units coming to the upstate?
I mean, what is needed is bodies. But unfortunately, like, this industry is kind of like a ghost when it comes to someone that hasn't heard of it before. It's not like something you typically see people Googling or looking up on Indeed. when they don't know what it is. And so in order to get bodies, a lot of it is word of mouth. And that's kind of how Courtney, I'm sure, and myself got into this industry, was a word of mouth position of some sort. But because of that, it's going to take our members in the association to get behind these workforce developments and setting people up with the education they need so they're not just going into these jobs. We don't like to say green, but like, and blind, more blind than anything. I mean, these jobs, whether it is a groundskeeper or a leasing professional position, even though it is entry level, it's a big girl, big boy job. Like it's not your typical like entry level position. And so at the association level, we are creating these workforce developments. We've done 3 cohorts so far. We've done a leasing one. And when I say cohort, leasing and grounds is typically like a week long, where we dive into the day-to-day operations, what they need to know to really get their foot in the door, but also feel like they're not getting super overwhelmed by the first day. And then we did a maintenance tech one that was 5 weeks long, hands-on, 3 days a week for 5 weeks, very intense. And again, setting them up for success so they're not going into these feeling overwhelmed and then leaving. We want them to stay. Of course, it's not going to be 100% successful every single time, but if we're doing our job and offering them, now it's also the members' job. It's, the schools, the high schools' jobs, whoever we have contacts with to get the word out, because we're offering them completely for free. That's how much we need bodies in these apartment communities, how much we need people to know about all these job opportunities. And I mean, as we've seen, as you're a walking testament, Mark, I know your story and how much you've grown and where you've come from as far as like grounds to now your position you're in now. Like there's so much room for growth, and there's not a lot of industries like this, where you can start as an entry-level grounds individual and work your way up to VP of operations or the president of a management company. And honestly, not do it within a long period of time. I mean, some of these people start as grounds and they're maintenance supervisors within 3 to 5 years, and they're the sole supporter of their family, which is wonderful because they're getting all these benefits. So I think that's a long-winded way to answer your question, but I mean, getting bodies and doing that through a workforce development program.
Yep. So Courtney, anything to add? What do you think?
I mean, the truth of it is we are in a housing shortage, right? And unfortunately, it's happening at a rate that we can't keep up with. And I watched some news segment the other day about how people have been flooding the Carolinas. Like we've seen an influx of transplants from big cities, especially in these like post-COVID times. And that's been something I've noticed here is a lot of these units that are getting built, we get calls because they're not necessarily from South Carolina. Maybe they're from California and they realized, oh, I can do this same thing in South Carolina without 5 books worth of paperwork to seal the deal. We get a lot of investors from other states. However, what comes with that is people don't know how we do things here in South Carolina. We do them a little different. You got to have a special license and you got to have some special certifications. And so then I think what we're seeing is we see that gap where there's a need for housing. Guess what? Someone's got the money. Someone's going to build it for us. But they need people that already know how to do the job. They need someone who already has their certifications. They need all these things. And then also when it's happening that quick, it's not as easy to take someone and just train them on the job. Mm-hmm. The days of just showing up and having never had a job and sitting there and watching videos on how to do it, those are well behind us. But also this isn't an industry you can do that in per se. And it's also unique that it is an industry that you will not see anyone under 18 because licensing regulations. People need to have their driver's license. You're going to people's homes. So it's like a unique industry where it's like just for adults, right? And it helps if you have some skills, but if you don't, that's like where we come in. And I really have loved hearing, we have one of our board members has twice now picked up a leasing consultant that was her waiter. That she was like, "You're good at this. I bet you'd be better at this." And last year at Apartmentalize, I think you were in there too, Mark. We went to one of those keeping qualified maintenance people, and someone talked about how that car wash probably hated them, but they basically cleaned out a car wash's staff. They went in and they were like, "I'm paying more. You like working with your hands?" And so you do kind of have to get creative like that. And for our cohorts, like that's also been where we've been pulling them from. And all the people that have come through for our training, it's all been here, there, everywhere. Someone moved here a couple states away and was just looking to start over. Someone saw my flyer here, there, and it's interesting because you can find that many people that are looking for some sort of chance, some sort of opportunity, and they're willing to try something they never tried before. And what we're offering them, I think, is very unique, like Andrea said, because this isn't just a job. It can be a career path. You can start as an hourly grounds and end up a regional supervisor. I mean, there's a lot of room for growth. And that's very unique. So, right now we're just in that sort of tough spot where we're trying to keep up with the amount of units getting up. People need the housing. Companies are trying to hold on to their people. But then the other flip side of that we see in this industry is people jump ship so fast. They jump ship over an extra dollar or this or that. And I mean, I don't know. I'm a little different. I don't know that I would operate that way. But that's what we watch all day is people moving here to here to here. So it's not just trying to find the bodies. It's also holding on to them once you've got them. Because someone's always whispering, the grass is greener, the units are newer. It's a big issue.
Yeah, and with the growth that the upstate is getting, with the new properties on every corner, beautiful properties, and it's you do have that mentality. You do have that I've done my time. It's ready I'm ready for something new, and times are tough, things are expensive, so having people jump ship, like you said, for an extra $1 an hour, I mean, that's an extra $2,000 a year after taxes. You might see very little, but to some people that money's big. Money's big to them. So it's one of those things that I don't know that we'll ever quite wrap our heads around. I don't know that we'll ever quite figure it out. When we do, though, when someone figures out how to hire, keep, train qualified maintenance personnel, like whoever that management company is, they're going to quickly rise to the top, and they will never lose a soul. I'm working on it. I'm trying.
I see some of those already, like developing.
Yeah,
like,
there's a few I haven't. When you said that, there's a few we see very little turnover from.
Yeah.
But then again, if you were to go ask their people why, it's that magic combination of it's not just the pay, it's also the benefits, it's how they're treated, it's the culture, and so
development. Yeah,
and in that regard, there's some we know what some are like. We don't know what all are like, but that also changes. Ownership changes, names change. The culture changes. So I think it's people just have to know what they're looking for beyond, which is something we actually coach our workforce people. We do a job fair with them. And of course we tell them we want you to answer all these questions the right way, but we also want you to ask questions. What is important to you? Ask, is continuing education important to you? Ask what that looks like in their company. Ask what your day-to-day looks like. That's been something really important that we've fixated on with each of our cohorts, is sort of coaching them through the job interview, where you get to interview in return, because we don't want you there for 6 weeks and then bouncing, realizing it wasn't for you. You could have figured that out probably sooner and saved everyone the time and the money. And so that's one thing with bringing in people without experience and giving them that training. We also talk them through,
Right.
this is what your work day can look like, and you need to, what holds the most value to you.
Yeah. Andrea, you just mentioned professional development as something that's huge. And again, out of my bag of tricks over here, out of the percentage of people polled in a recent multifamily exclusive survey that was done, 94% of the people surveyed said that they chose to stay at their company because they had professional development opportunities.
I believe
So,
it.
yeah,
But I mean, it's also sad because being part of my job is the education factor. I do all the education here, and it's the same companies in every classroom. You know what I mean?
right.
And so I really hope that those that aren't putting in their annual budgets and pushing their employees for professional development, because I think there's that stigma like, oh, they just want to come to work, clock in, clock out, and leave. And I'm like, but have you asked? Have you asked to
Yeah,
see if they want the certifications or if they need assistance outside of those online platforms that can assist them with a face-to-face instructor?
yeah.
Like, you need to ask. And we're seeing these same exact management companies. And I mean, I'm not doing data here, but those are also the ones that I don't much turnover on. So, I mean, call it what you want.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. And for someone like myself who works for a smaller outfit, trying to take over the world and do the right thing, I come across a lot of, just to kind of echo what you said, Andrea, about it's kind of the same companies, doing this. I come across a lot of, I call them ma and pa's, some call them IROs, or
Mhm.
depending on how they're labeled or how they join their affiliate or their association, determines what they're called. But there are a lot of management companies in our territory, in our area, that don't participate in our education, and I hate that for them, because there's probably a lot of stuff that they need to know that they don't. There's a lot of government regulation. There's a lot of changes. There's a lot of continuing ed, just a lot of things that's necessary to maintain your properties, and a lot of them just don't ever hear about it, because they just join because they want the lease, or they
Right.
just join for this, but they don't take advantage of the full offerings that any apartment association, not just us, but any apartment association offers. Kind of back to the opening statements. I mean, we are, we're reflective of our membership.
Mhm.
They come out in hordes to our education and to our events, and to all of, and they make us that way. And I think if there are affiliates out there who may be struggling, or trying to figure out how to reach that next group of people, we need to go after the IROs.
Mhm.
You need to go after the mom and pops, and you need to push on that education,
Mhm.
and hopefully that'll open the door so that they can start to keep those people.
Absolutely.
But it's crazy. It's just bonkers out there, the number of people
Mhm.
that are leaving, that are changing, that are doing those. But it is also equally bonkers at the companies out there who are holding on to their people so tight, because they seem to have gotten it, and they
Yeah.
seem to have put that puzzle piece together.
And I will say for the small, like for the affiliates that are having a hard time, um, I mean, I'm not saying take advantage, but we take advantage of our members for educators. I mean, if you don't have a
Right.
budget to get a national speaker or fly in somebody to teach a class, like really look at your membership base and see who can teach a class. That's really what we became really successful on, because whether it's a maintenance class and you're teaching it, or we have great committee members that are willing to raise their hand and be like, yeah, I get hands on with HVAC systems every day. Of course, I can teach this.
Mhm.
Like, using that as a resource for your association and taking advantage of those can broaden your education base. And then also providing education for the IROs. So independent rental owners, or, those small little mom and pop management companies, like they might not have the budget for it, right?
Right.
So what does that look like? You gotta like hold a class and you're trying to make money off of it. But not every class needs to be a moneymaker, right? We're also in the field of advancing our members. So keeping prices down. We offer majority of our classes, if they're not a certification, for like $29 to $59. And that's really just to cover the cost for the kitchen that they go through our food.
They'll eat some food.
But, or just offering it virtual, like that was probably the one and few things that came out good because of COVID was we now have this virtual world that we can now take advantage of. So those that don't have a like freestanding classroom, that we're really fortunate to have, taking advantage of the virtual classrooms. Even with that, your membership instructor base just grew exponentially because they can just zoom in. So really using those resources, but then also with the IROs looking into those smaller classes. We offer some maintenance classes for free here. So, because we know professional development is so important. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to say you have no business. If you work on site, maintenance to front of the house, everyone should take a fair housing class once a year. And if your affiliates don't offer it, call us because we do them virtually. And that's the other thing of talking about taking advantage of your members. Our diamond partners, Lipsack and Brownlee, if anyone here is listening is in the Southeast, then they are also probably your diamond partner. They're members everywhere. They'll teach for you. Chris Lipsack comes here and teaches fair housing. And there's no better resource than attorneys that have their finger on the pulse of it, because things are always changing. And so even for those companies that don't have the big budgets, or people that not everyone values continuing education, you have no business in this industry if you're not taking fair housing at the minimum, just like the minimum. Yeah.
Awesome. So you mentioned that Andrea, Courtney, you both mentioned that you kind of fell into the multifamily industry by word of mouth. It was not your first choice. For anyone that has listened to my first podcast, I talked about going to the South Carolina Apartment Association Education Conference. Dr. Debbie Phillips comes up, cheerleader loud, and just, first thing in the morning, it was a slap in the face. Yeah. But one of the things that she asked, it's still affecting me, when she said, how many of you in this room chose the multifamily industry as your career? Mm-hmm. And from where I was sitting back in the room, 400 people in the room, not one person raised their hand. Not one person raised their hand to choose this industry as a career path. And the two of you, myself, fell into it. Mm-hmm. So for someone who is out there, who is looking for a career, the multifamily industry has a humongous array of job opportunities. It's not just leasing apartments. It's not just turning a wrench. Andrea, what was your background at Clemson? What did you want to do?
So I went to Clemson, go Tigers, and my job, my degree is in Parks, Recreation, Tourism Management, which screams multifamily, right?
Which screams education, right?
Screams education, membership, and events. But while I was there, I had to get a job. My mom was like, it's time. And so I actually was one of those bodies that like were Googling jobs in Clemson University, jobs in Clemson, South Carolina, and a leasing job just popped up. And I was like, the pay looks right. I was looking through, I was like, I could probably do this. I got myself into some student housing straight away, which is like, oh no. So I became a leasing professional. We had like 5 leasing professionals in the office. Like it was all just college kids. And it was just a competition on who can get leases. Really, it was just, that's what it felt like. Because in the student housing industry, those who haven't been in it, like there's a very short gap of when people are signing
Oh, yeah.
leases and when people are renewing. And so it's like full steam ahead between like October and December when you're getting renewals. And then it just made like a competition out of it. It was a great first job, but then because of my degree, I had to fall off of that because I had nothing to do with what I wanted to do when I was older, which was event planning. And I had to do internships, so I had to leave that job. And then I graduated as an event planner, and I moved away. Long story, military, husband. And when we moved back here, I had event planning experience, a lot of it, because I did it for Clemson as well. And I knew somebody that was like looking, they knew what I have done in the past with events. And they're like, the association is looking for a part-time event planner. I was like, really? I was like, I could do that. I was
Yeah.
like, honestly, and I have like multifamily background a little bit. I leased apartments for 9-10 months. And so it kind of just fell into place. I got the job here as events part-time, and then became full-time, and then took on the education part, and then took on the membership part. And now I feel
Yeah.
like I'm just like, no, I have my property manager's license now, and I'm an instructor. So it's just
Yeah.
like full circle kind of. But I think it also shows that like I came in from events, and
Yeah.
now I know if I wasn't in this position, like I'm sure there's event positions out there for management companies, or there's marketing positions out there, or so there's just this industry kind of grabs you no matter where you started, and
Yeah.
can make a career path for you if you're willing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Courtney, we didn't quite pull you from Clemson University event planning.
No, but
How
you guys
did you
did.
fall into our?
You did catfish me. That's what I like to say. I was catfished. Um, I also went to Clemson. My degree is in gender studies and sociology. So, big time multifamily. I wanted to work in nonprofits. That's like what I knew. My background, where I had been right before I came here, was with two very big brand names, trademarked boutique fitness brands, where I helped open them, sell memberships, did marketing, served members, and I was ready to shift into normal hours because fitness is crazy hours. But the job listing, I think I had alerts on nonprofits, but it came up. It's nonprofit, and it said something to do with events at apartments. And I had a friend that worked for Apartmentalize, and that's kind of I think what I thought it was. And my first interview, I don't even know if we talked about job things. Y'all know our AE, y'all know Joy. She and I just hit it off, and that was it. We just talked for like an hour. And I remember being like, what is it? Like, I went on your website, what are you guys? And she was like, we're an apartment association. It's just like, that's what we are.
Like, what do you mean? What are we?
I had my second interview with you two and the incoming president at the time. And it was like, who are these? Do these people work? These don't work. She works here. They don't. They're on the board. You have a board. Okay. And just trying to figure this out. And I really think what's funny about sometimes with a job is you aren't looking for someone that has a set of skills per se, as you're looking for the right type of personality. And for us, I also was looking for, I pretty much, I think, told her in my interview, like, I have a great work family. I'm sad about leaving. I want to work somewhere that's a work family. I don't want to be a cog in the wheel, and so then though she called, I got the job. And then when I came in to sign for the job, she was like, Andrea and I were talking, and you're so good at these things, and she actually likes doing these things. We want to offer you this job instead.
Oh, yeah.
But it was fancy, right? It was like director of communications. I was just like, okay, like I was just happy to, I was just ready to transition into something different. And I was thrilled to have my own office and not have to share a computer with 3 other people like I was doing before. But I do, whenever trying to explain to people, like, what do you do? Like, I'll just be like, do you see that apartment building? Someone sells them their floors. Someone sells them their air fresheners. Somebody does this. Somebody does that. It's like there's so many little jobs that go into it. And then, trying to explain that we're the space for all of them. Yes. Part of it is that we provide the lease, and part of it is that they kind of have to be our members, but we do our best to make it worthwhile and make it more than that. So it is like, and when I got this job, I knew one person who had been a PM, and I knew she would be the only person to understand. And I texted her and I was like, I got a job at the apartment association. And she was like, I used to love going there when she was in the industry. But again, it's like the best kept secret, right? I mean, we were at Apartmentalize. There were 12,000 people there. It's a huge industry, but for people that have never been in it, and then they ask you what you do, and you have to be like, so have you ever rented an apartment? Okay, sit down. This is what I do.
Right. So, and all that to say that there's so many more opportunities out there in our industry than just leasing, just the negative press that we hear. All the radio interviews, or I think President Biden in one of his last State of the Unions addressed rent control and landlords, and the industry is so much more than that. It is so much more than that. And I was curious. I mean, obviously I know your stories, I know where you came from, but I want other people to hear, because I want to make it a mission of mine to try to get more of those hands raised in that conference. Right. I want more people to choose this industry, and with just understanding how people accidentally fall into it, you can sort of work backwards from there and create a plan to try to get them in early. And it is such a great industry. It's evolving, and technology and all of these things are kind of taking over, and it's really exciting time to be in our industry. I mentioned to you both before we started recording that I was a guest on a podcast yesterday, and one of the questions he asked was, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced in your 20 plus year career? And I said, honestly, as exciting as it is, technology. That is one of the biggest things that we fight, because, I'm old school. I am paper. We talked about Joy. She's paper. Like, I used to write work orders down in triplicate and rip them off of a board and, pass them out and leave them in apartments. Those days are gone. And it's rare that anyone has paper anymore, or at least on a work order or a lease. It's all electronic. There's, so the technology is crazy. So, there are positions in technology. There are positions in event planning. There are positions in gender studies. Whether you want to say what you do is there, but I mean, there are positions in all things within the multifamily industry. And so I think we need to reevaluate, I think, how we're trying to recruit people, or we're not trying to recruit people. People just finding us by accident. So, I think we can, maybe try to work backwards from how we're getting them, and try to create something to get there before. But we'll see. We'll see.
Whenever I meet someone that basically says they chose the industry, 9 times out of 10, one of their parents is in the industry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know of one that we all know.
I know several.
But yeah, I mean, I know we've encountered several, and that is, again, like, it's that same kind of word of mouth where who was coming to your school at career days, and that's why we do career fairs now. And I always feel kind of, part of me is like, I'm selling an idea, like I don't have an actual job to offer them, but I get members on site. They love to come and help. They're very eager. And I love just sitting back and listening to them talk to the students and see the students get excited because they'll say, no, I didn't have any experience. Yeah, I make great money. I travel. All these ideas that, because that's the other part is that youths want a lot of money, a lot of flexibility. They want to travel. They have all these ideas and they cannot find a job that ticks those boxes. And I sat there and watched one of our board members talk to a whole bevy of people about her beginning time in leasing and all the places she's gone with that job. And they were like, I never would have thought of that. And then I have someone from that high school that we keep a contact because when kids graduate, she's telling them about it. And we're sort of trying to kind of do that, like wave our way into career fairs in high schools because we know that trades are never going to go away. We know how important they are, but there's also, there's a lot of paths to get to where you want. And even if you think one thing, Andrea and I had studied very different things, but what we studied still has been beneficial here. I had an enormous amount of coursework in mental health, and now I'm mental health first aid certified here doing classes on it. And that mental health issue in the workplace is never going away. And nor did I imagine when I was taking those classes that I would be using that information to teach some leasing professionals how not to lose their ish during the day. Right. Those skills. And I think too with when you say there's so many things to do, when I first took this job and people would go, well, I thought you want to work in nonprofit. The one thing I'm doing that I've always done is I'm serving. And in any job, you're serving. So like for me, like that passion is filled and ticked because I have a membership of 70,000 units with people working in those units and serving those units that I serve. So really, even if you think, oh, I don't have sales or I don't know how to do this or I don't know how to do that, you have something and we can find somewhere to put it in Absolutely. This industry that jobs are constantly being listed. We keep an open page on our website for our members and we get jobs posted on there every single week.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to kind of just change the subject completely. Courtney, I want to ask you to tell us the story, please, of our Apartmentalize trip and our Uber with Conrad, because this has nothing to do with why we're on here today. It has nothing to do with the apartment industry, but it is a hilarious story from Apartmentalize and the 2 to 3 days that the two of us walked around town thinking one thing and then got slapped in the face about something different. So please tell me that story.
I'm very upset I have not heard this story yet, and Apartmentalize was 3 weeks ago.
Because I really try, when Andrea can't come, I kept her in the loop, okay, the whole time. But I did not tell you this story. It's so silly, though. I should preface, Mark and I were very excited to go to Philadelphia. Absolutely. Because that's where Hamilton happened. Yes. That's all y'all. That's it. Like, that's all y'all need to know. And I was also very excited for Philadelphia. I was raised by a big Revolutionary War, Civil War buff of a father, big history buff. And I grew up going to visit a lot of sites like that. I've been to as many president houses as I can, all this. I love these old towns and the history behind it. And I was very excited to explore Philadelphia. And our very first Uber from the airport, we happened to get, as he introduced himself, I am Conrad. I am from West, keep my wife's name out your mouth, Philadelphia. Verbatim. That's right. That's what he said. He's very excited to be from the land of Will Smith. And so as we're riding, I'm just like, what's this? What's that? Where do I get a good cheesesteak? We're really taking all of Conrad's information in. And at some point, I see a man on a horse atop a building, but we're passing it. And I'm like, what is that? And then we'd pass into the building. And we're like, but what is that? What is that? And Conrad goes, that's City Hall. And I said, who is that? Who's on top of the building? And he said, that's Ben Franklin. And we laughed and we told jokes about how in our state, there's no more men on buildings. And we joked about how they'll never take these statues down in Philadelphia of our founding fathers. And when we got to the hotel, we even said, look, Mark, you've got a view of Ben Franklin. And Joy was jealous because she didn't. And the first thing I said after we ate was we went exploring. And my boss and I, Joy and I, both are not map people. I am a take a right, take a right, take a left. But maps. And so as she and I are exploring, we're also trying to find like a CVS, a Walgreens. And we'd look at the map and we'd just be like, what's it saying? Wait, there's Ben Franklin. Ben was our North Star. And we used him to get everywhere we need to go. I even stopped a policeman to ask where to get something was. And I told him I didn't want to go any further than a block away from Ben Franklin. This was, you got to know, like, and not only that, Andrea, there was a statue on the ground of Ben Franklin. It's huge. Like, I didn't even come up to half of it. And we were like, more Ben Franklin. They love this guy. They love this guy. And I was like, why wouldn't they? He brought us chocolate. We love Ben Franklin. Cut to Tuesday night. I think it was Tuesday night. After the meal in a multifamily mixer. And I'm in an Uber with everyone. You know, we just invite everyone to Ubers. A lot of people. But they were all from, like, our state. And I always sit up front with the Uber drivers. And this Uber driver was not from West, keep my wife's name out your mouth, Philadelphia. He had an accent. He was from somewhere different. He wasn't super chatty with me. Fine. And as we drove by, I was like, there's my boy, Benny F. And they were like, everyone in the car was like, what? And I was like, that's Ben Franklin, y'all. And the Uber driver looked at me and said, who told you this? I said, my Uber driver, Conrad, from West Philadelphia, told me this. And he said, he is a fool. That is William Penn. And I said,
who?
William Penn.
The founder of Pennsylvania.
Is named after. And I said, the lies you are telling me right now. And even worse were the people in the car with me. I'm texting them going, he's not even from here, guys. He doesn't know. And someone in the car Googled and then passed the phone up. And wouldn't you know it, it is William Penn. Like, duh. Why wouldn't it be William Penn? The state's named after him. And also there were Ben Franklin statues everywhere else. Like, why would he be on top of City Hall? You know, the whole City Hall, there's all these like statues attached to it of like soldiers climbing.
Right.
Ben did not serve in the war. That part also did not occur. Like, we didn't think about it. Like, we didn't think about the fact that Ben Franklin was not a soldier. And the cops, I am mad at every person on the streets of Philly that listened to me and Joy be like, where's Ben? Okay, there's Ben. We're good to go. And Conrad from West Philly, you need to go take a tour of City Hall and you need to go educate yourself because that
No, he was thinking, y'all dumb tourists. I got these people backing out my hand.
The confidence that this man told us the confidence that he told us of everything. Okay. He was so confident in every recommendation he gave out. He really was. That, like, the one man though that told me this man is a fool. Like, that just like it hit on me so hard. He didn't even crack a smile. Like, he was just like, what dummy told you this dumminess dumb? Like, and
Conrad probably got a fat tip too because he taught you something like well. And
no, he didn't because Joy
he
didn't because Joy was paying. No, he didn't. The other guy got a fat tip because I felt like an idiot. I had been pointing out the whole car ride. There's so and so. There's so and so. There's a park. You know, like I just lived here now. I just knew the city. Oh, Benny Ben's my man.
I got to hotel room. I opened the windows and I saw Mr. Ben sitting up there and I snapped a picture. I said, look, y'all, there's Ben. And I sent it to my family. I sent my kids. I'm like, look, y'all, I can see Ben, you know, and it was days later for me. Because
I didn't tell Mark this story I didn't see it. Like, we didn't see each other for a few days. And then we had dinner Wednesday night. And I was like, I got to tell you guys something. That ain't Ben Franklin. And all of us gobsmacked. Shocked.
Yeah, no idea. And I never thought to ask anybody because Conrad, I am from West Philadelphia. Keep my wife's name out your mouth, Conrad. And that is how he introduced himself.
I love it.
We're not exaggerating there. That's exactly what he said.
Literally.
And I never thought to question. Never. Ever.
Yeah.
I don't think you're questioning someone that introduces himself that way either, though. Like, you're just like, he's
like, to me, he's gonna tell me everything I need to know about Philadelphia. And what was interesting was, I don't know what your Uber drivers were like, Mark, but between Conrad and then my very last Uber driver, it was all transplants and people from other countries that had moved here. But the one I had my last morning also was from Philly. And he detected the accent that I think is undetectable. And, where are you from? What are you doing here this week? And we chatted. And I said, I've had one other driver that was from Philly. And he told me that was Ben Franklin. Like, he did you dirty. That's what you're telling me. But other than that, though, I really I loved Philly. I loved the people of Philly, and I loved everything I learned, even if I learned it the hard way. It'll always be Ben Franklin in my heart.
Yeah. So as we start to wrap up, I will like to just ask both of you just one final question. Andrea, we'll start with you, and then Courtney, you can bring us out. But what would you say to someone who's looking at the multifamily industry as a career path? And we may have mentioned it in some of your other conversations or some of the other answers that we've talked about, but somebody, we're at a high school job fair, we're at a whatever, and we're trying to get somebody interested in our industry, and they come to you and they say, so give me the scoop. I mean, Andrea, what would you say?
I mean, we've hit on a couple of things, obviously, the opportunities, the growth, but also because this industry is ever growing, the relationships that you will have the opportunity to build. I mean, thanks to the association, whether it's our association or another association, being able to build lifelong contacts is something that is really, you can't put a price on. You're going to have contacts in your back pocket for the rest of your life. I know, Mark, you still are really close with the person that gave you that first little job opportunity. And those contacts, those relationships aren't something that you will be able to do in a lot of other organizations or industries. I mean, I look at, my family members or my spouse, and they go to work and come home. They don't have relationships with their coworkers, or they don't really talk to anybody outside the 5 o'clock time frame. And not saying they're working, we're working, but we have actually built relationships with these individuals. And I think that that's something that you don't get out of a lot of industries. And then the opportunity for growth as far as the education. I mean, there's not also a lot of industries that allow you to grow as quickly, and not in a negative way, but because a lot of places you do need degrees to get a job in, or certain certifications. Ours is not one that you have to do that. And it takes you just being good at customer service, willing to work, and then those professional developmental things will come later, and your company will invest in you in those opportunities, and then you're growing. And a lot of industries don't do that. I mean, my husband is project manager, and for his license that he wants to get, he has to go do that himself outside of his job for better opportunities down the line potentially. And luckily in our industry, for CPO certifications, EPA, property management, whatever it may be, your companies typically are the ones investing in those for you, to help you grow and help you reach that next step on that ladder that you're wanting to reach. And I think that that's really unique about our industry as well.
Awesome. Courtney, what about you? What are you going to tell somebody?
I found when I'm doing this pitch, whether it's for workforce or career fairs, whatever, a lot of times it feels too good to be true. People are like, wait, I don't have to have this, and they'll hire me and then they'll pay for me to get this certification. But that's the truth of it. That is where we are. The opportunities are kind of endless. There's a lot of room to grow, whether it's to grow up or to grow sideways. Like there's a lot of positions, there's a lot of room. I think my little like kind of word of caution would be just the to pace yourself. The one thing that I've seen since I've been here, when I see people leave the industry, they're burned out, but they're kind of burned out because of themselves, because they wanted to jump, 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 dollar, advancement, new title, dollar, new title, new title. You know, they've got it in their heads. I got to be a regional in this many years, and I've got to get this in this many years, and they kind of work themselves to death and quickly. But you can take your time, enjoy. You know, some people feel like they're above an hourly pay scale, right? Like leasing or grounds, but there's a lot to be done with that. Like it can go as far as you want it to go. You get bonuses, you put in what you get out. And I have seen positions be created for people based on their skill set. You know, think of our past board president had been a PM, and then it was like, you're good with numbers, we're going to put you over here with our owners. And you know, it's creating this it is a unique industry where you're going to get poured into from companies. They're going to try to put you where you fit best. But you know, if you're looking to just corporate climb, I would say this is not for you, because you're going to climb and you're going to fall off the ladder. You know, but I think we're a very want it now society. We have access to everything at our fingertips. And so like when we go to these job fairs, career fairs, I feel like that is a little bit hard part of trying to tell everyone there's beauty in pacing yourself, and you're going to get there when you get there. And so it's easy to come into some industry, work it to death in 5 years and go, oh, that wasn't for me. Just pace yourself. Because when we say the opportunities are, you know, it feels limitless, they are, but everybody's got to pay their dues. You're not going to become a groundskeeper and be a supervisor a year later. Like, it's just not. So I feel like appreciating that and loving that also is worth so much. Because this year when we did our excellence awards, we did them at our own association. I did the interviews for the assistant property manager of the year. And I had a few where I would ask, what's next? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And several were like, I like this. I'm going to be right here. I don't want to be a regional. I like being here on site. I like doing this. And if they had been on that climb trajectory, they would have taken that regional job before they realized it wasn't for them. So you can everybody can find their niche and find a place for themselves. And even if it's on the dark side, as we call it, with the suppliers, like it's a vast industry with a lot of opportunity. You just have to be open to it.
Yeah.
And I think we'd be crazy not to say this, but this industry is really unique that we have what we are in associations and locally across the nation. I mean, we have 5-ish in the state of South Carolina. You're not going to get a lot of industries that have what we have and the resources that we can provide for members, whether the company is supportive or not. Unfortunately, we still have those resources available to everybody if they're wanting to consume them. I mean, all the advocacy updates, all the classes, obviously the networking opportunities. There's not a lot of industries out there that offer that. In that capacity constantly. You know, we're doing networking events every month. And I mean, this week alone, we have 3 education classes. And so again, I think Courtney said it, you get what you put in, but like also we are a funnel of resources and not a lot of industries have that.
Right.
Yeah. And everyone has, I mean, in boutique, coming from fitness, continuing ed is there too. It's in so many industries already. And so to have it built in, because our continuing ed was something like, you want to keep your licensing up to date, you got to pay for that. You got to go find some classes to take, like Andrea said about her husband, on your own time. That's what's unique here, is that you get to go clock in and then come here and take your class. is you really are taken care of. And then to also have the associations that are really just set up, our entire goal is just kind of how can we help you guys be successful?
Right.
That's huge. I can't imagine the only other time I've encountered something like this, is a pyramid scheme. So this one's not.
Is that what people are thinking?
Yeah, right. Okay, so to people who are looking for the industry, this is not a pyramid scheme.
It's
okay?
not. It's
It's a real job. But you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that draws people into the MLMs, though, is the support. And it is the network, and that's really what it is. It brings you in. And so it is unique in that sense that, like, we have this where we want to plug you in with other members in the committees, and we want you guys to to help and to do things. And it's not some like wild scam, set up by us, because we're also a part of the same National Apartment Association they are. And in that regard, we are the member, just like you guys are our members, and we get that same experience. They provide us continuing education when we're not happy with things. We've expressed it. They try to make changes. So we do know we get that same member experience. And that's part of what makes us try to make sure that we're giving the best one possible.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you both for wanting to come and be a part of the Multifamily Mixtape. Thank you both, seriously, very much for coming on and talking to me and just talking about the industry as a whole. So for everyone out there listening, thank you so much for joining. We have our guests, Andrea Graham and Courtney Kittle with Upper State Apartment Association in the upstate of South Carolina, NAA's 2024 Mid-Sized Affiliate of the Year. Thank you all so much, and we'll catch you on the next one.